So my dad asked me the other day what my favorite baseball game was, and there's no way a single person watching could guess what that was. It actually came on September 25th, 2008, between the Mets and the Cubs, but that's not the point. One thing led to another, and the question brought back memories of what I've always thought was the best day in baseball history. In my opinion, the single greatest day in baseball history was on September 28th, 2011. In order to talk about what went down on that date, we first have to talk about where the league stood on September 27th in order to set up the stakes for the following day. The date is September 27th, 2011. The final day of the regular season is tomorrow. There are 4 teams we're going to focus on in this video: the Braves, the Red Sox, the Cardinals, and the Rays. Now I know we're talking about the day before, but if you take a look back only 3 weeks earlier, both the Cardinals and the Rays were both at least 8 games back in their wildcard races, so for the both of them to even get to this point was pretty remarkable. It's also important to remind you that the second wildcard spot wasn't a thing at this point in time, because had it been, this would have been a completely different story. Those 4 aren't even the only teams that had something to fight for in Game 162. There were some smaller storylines to follow here and there too. The AL West clinching Rangers were only a game ahead of the Central clinching Tigers for the second best record in the American League, and the NL Central winning Brewers were only a game ahead of the NL West clinching Diamondbacks for the second best record in the NL. Still, we're only going to focus on those 4 teams that I mentioned before, but I think it's important to show you how much was on the line in Game 162, big or small, to make my case why this day trumps all other days in baseball history. Now, in the American League, the Rays and Red Sox were tied at the top of the wildcard standings, and the Braves and Cardinals were tied at the top of the NL wildcard standings, each fighting for their playoff lives with only a day left in the regular season. As the sun set on September 27th, players on several major league teams were left speculating about what was to come the following day. I don't think them, or anybody on the outside looking in, could have possibly guessed what was to come. After what I'm sure was a restless night for some, the sun rose on September 28th, 2011, the greatest day in baseball history. There were many different possible outcomes for the day. Any 2 of these 4 teams could have made it to the playoffs, and either pair or both could have gone to a Game 163. Now, the first of these 4 games was between the Red Sox and Orioles, and was scheduled to begin at 7:05 Eastern, followed by the Phillies, Braves, and Yankees Rays games at 7:10, with the Cardinals in Houston an hour later. Let's start in the National League with the least memorable of these 4 games. Right from the get-go, the Cardinals had this game locked down with a 5-run opening. The Astros, who were 56 and 106 at the time, didn't really stand a chance. Chris Carpenter threw a 2-hit, 11-strikeout shutout, and St. Louis took care of business. They were the only one of the 4 teams who really didn't break a sweat in their game, and now it was up to the Braves to see whether or not Game 163 was needed. The Braves, unlike their adversary, had their work cut out for them against the 101-60 division-leading Phillies. After an RBI double from Ryan Howard in the first inning, the Braves had ground to make up right away, and did so in the bottom half on a Chipper Jones sac fly. After a 2-run Dan Uggla homer in the 3rd inning, the Braves took a 3-2 lead into the top of the 9th inning. Braves closer Craig Kimbrell comes in looking to extend the regular season an extra day. He gives up a hit, a sac fly, 3 walks, and the Phillies had tied the game. To extras we go. Back and forth scoreless innings from both bullpens brings us to the 13th inning, where Hunter Pence singles in Brian Schneider and gives the Phillies their first lead since the 1st inning. All hope seems to be lost for the Braves, and it definitely showed in the bottom half of the inning. A strikeout, a walk, and a double play later, and the Braves' playoff hopes were destroyed. The Cardinals were advancing to play the Phillies in the NLDS after an exciting, yet disappointing Game 162 showing by the Braves. Now, the story in the American League was even better. In Baltimore, the Red Sox were on the board first after a base hit from Dustin Pedroia in the top of the 3rd. They immediately coughed it up in the bottom half and played 2 runs in the following inning to go back up 3-2 on the Orioles. Now, even though they were only up by a run, they could breathe a little bit because they looked up to the scoreboard and saw that the Rays were trailing the Yankees 7-0. It seemed like at the very least, they would live to see another day. And then the rain came. Boston had to sit through a 1 hour and 26-minute rain delay in the 6th inning and sat there with their jaws on the floor while watching what was going on in Tampa Bay. Rays ace David Price gets the ball for Tampa at home against the 100-win Yankees. As we know now, David Price is pretty bad against the Yankees, and today was no exception. The Yankees were up 5-0 by the bottom half of the second inning on the back of 2 Mark Teixeira homers and would tack on another run before Price's day was over. The Yankees had a 7-0 lead heading into the bottom of the 8th inning. It looked like all hope was lost for the Tampa Bay Rays until franchise star Evan Longoria stepped up to the plate with runners on against Luis Ayala.
And there it is! Long drive! Deep to left! Gone! Longoria hits a long one!
So the Red Sox are getting pretty scared. They went from feeling really good before the delay to that feeling you get after watching Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Now they have to go back out there and get the job done regardless of what's going on in Tampa. They can't count on the Yankees' lead anymore. Now the rain delay finally ends. They get through a clean 7th and 8th, don't score any runs in the 9th, and send out Jonathan Papelbon with a 1-run lead to close it out. They're hoping for, at the very least, a tiebreaker game 163 with the Rays should they win. Papelbon strikes out his first 2 batters, and it looks like the Red Sox have this game in the bag. But not so fast. What's this? It's 2011, not 2019. Chris Davis knows how to make contact. He hits a long double to keep this game alive. Next batter comes up, Nolan Reimold. What a name he's got. Ground rule double, and just like that, the game is tied and the Orioles have the winning run in scoring position. If you're a Red Sox fan at this point, you've gone through like 4 packs of Tums and a quarter gallon of Mylanta. The Orioles had 2 outs and nobody on, and like 5 seconds later, now they're a base hit away from winning the game. This inning was pretty symbolic of the entire month of September for the 2011 Red Sox. Now here comes Robert Andino with the winning run on second and 2 outs with Boston's season on the line. And here we go.
Andino to left field, in comes Crawford, can't make the catch. He pops up, the throw to the plate is going to be off the mark, and the Orioles walk off with the win.
The game heads to the bottom of the 9th with the Yankees leading 7-6. Just as in Baltimore, there are 2 outs and nobody on. Up steps Dan Johnson. I know, who the heck is this guy? We really didn't know at the time either. Dan Johnson, up to this point in 2011, had 84 at-bats during the regular season, an OPS of 389, and an OPS plus of 11. Imagine if you took Jeff Mathis, blindfolded him, and made him bat lefty. You'd get the stats resembling those of 2011 Dan Johnson. Yet even still, on what was a day full of magic and surprises, Dan Johnson did exactly what you'd expect him to.
Johnson hits it down to right field line. That ball's going to be fair and gone.
And just like that, the game was tied, and after a few scoreless innings, Evan Longoria does it again in the bottom of the 12th and ends the final game in the greatest day in baseball history.
2-2 and a line shot down the left field line. That ball is gone, and the Rays win it.
This was without a shred of doubt in my mind the single greatest day in all of baseball history, and just think about the crazy symmetry here. Both leagues had 2 teams tied for the wild card lead going into the final day of the season. Both leagues had 2 teams within a game of each other for the 2nd and 3rd spots in the league standings. The Cardinals and Rays both came back from 8-game-plus deficits in their wild card races and were the 2 teams to win them. The 2 losing wild card teams, Atlanta and Boston, both blew 3-2 leads in the 9th inning. With 2 outs and nobody on in the bottom of the 9th inning, the Red Sox blew a 1-run lead and lost the game, and with 2 outs and nobody on in the bottom of the 9th inning, the Yankees blew a 1-run lead and lost their game. The left fielder who couldn't make the catch on the Orioles' walk-off hit was Carl Crawford, who was in his first year of a major contract with the Red Sox after spending his first 9 seasons, where? Tampa Bay. Carl Crawford must have felt like really crappy that his former brothers in Tampa ruined his team's season.
What the hell is wrong with you? We're a family!
This day will without a doubt be remembered as one of the greatest in baseball history, and I know I keep saying that, but I really do mean it, and I hope this video solidifies that. For me though, it is the greatest day, it's not just one of, and I think you guys get that point by now. Just think about all of the things that had to go right for this day to play out the way it did. The Cardinals and Rays had to both make up at least 8 games in the standings in the final month of play, and the teams in front of them had to cough up that big lead. The Red Sox and Braves had to blow 3-2 leads in the last inning. The Yankees had to blow a 7-run lead late in the game. You know, the 100-win Yankees? And they had to give up a pinch-hit homer with 2 outs and nobody on base to somebody who went from Jeff Mathis to Jerome from Family Guy in the blink of an eye.
I'm gonna tear the cover off this ball, but hang on. First, I gotta adjust myself.
On this night, careers were changed, players were immortalized in their franchises' histories, and fans of the game of baseball had the ride of a lifetime. Wow. While it's unlikely we'll see anything like this again anytime soon, this day shows us that in baseball, truly anything is possible. And it's one of those days that proves to me that baseball is the greatest sport in the world. I'd like to thank you very much for joining me today. Let me know what you thought about the video in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.